The holidays are here, and so is the perfect way to bless your loved ones. The Crosswalk Holiday Gift Guide has something for everyone on your list. The team at Crosswalk has handpicked the best devotionals, picture books, middle grade fiction, and adult fiction, so that you can spend less time buying and more time giving to those you love most. So stuff these stories into your stockings and celebrate the wonder of reading this Christmas. Want our gift guide? Visit crosswalk.com/gift guide today.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation, as usual, as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about dementia change. We will.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks. Today, we're going to be talking with an author and talking about understanding and coping with generational love and loss. And what does that mean? The author has written a beautiful children's book about dementia and the emotions and things that you go through with that. And I will introduce you to him in just a minute. But before I do, I always just like to encourage people to stop by alzheimerspeaks.com. We have all kinds of free educational resources there, from audio and video and printed out tools, poetry, information on dementia-friendly communities and memory cafes, dementia in the arts, dementia chats, the radio show, and so much more. You can also swing by our sister company, which is Dementia Map, a global resource directory that is free of charge. We'd love to have you check out what's on there and also recommend companies that you think should be listed. And if you have a service, product, or tool, if you are an organization, a private company, maybe you're a family member, a person living with dementia that has resources, products, or tools, you're invited to join as well and help get your resources out there. So just reach out to me at Lori, Lori, at alzheimerspeaks.com. Now let's introduce you to our guest. Well, RJ, I'm excited to have you on the show. We've been talking back and forth for a bit about talking about your first children's book that you wrote. But before we dive into that, if you don't mind just introducing yourself to our audience, tell us a little bit about your background and who is RJ?
Absolutely, Lori. First, I would just like to say thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor to be here. A little about me, I am 30 years old. I am a residential counselor for a group home. So I'm doing this in the kind of the background of things. My background is mostly in social work. I have experience kind of in multiple different aspects of it. I've been in hospital settings. Now I'm in the group home settings. I've been, work with Department in Children and Families before. So I've seen a lot of different things. The one place I haven't touched is a lot of the elderly population. And I didn't see that until I was affected by Alzheimer's myself with my grandmother, who played a huge role in me writing this book. So this is kind of what propelled me to, start my writing journey, because I've always had a passion for writing and, put pen to paper. It's kind of helped me through some dark times in my life. And I've always just was motivated to, some of my best work has always come from, just my imagination, and I just always have wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what it was going to be about. And when this kind of happened with my grandmother, I just knew this was the perfect time.
Okay, sounds good. You want to tell us a little bit about your grandma and how she fits into the book?
Absolutely. Yeah. So going off of that piece, my grandmother was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's at the age of 63. She was diagnosed somewhere around 2011. She was in and out of nursing homes for at least 5 years or so. So during COVID, it was really difficult, as a lot of people know. We had strict restrictions. You couldn't bring in certain foods. You had to wear a mask. So those kind of things really kind of triggered her, because with a mask, you couldn't tell who people were. But she had a rough time in the nursing homes. Her disease, within the 5 years, we thought that it was going to progress slowly. And at first it kind of did. But eventually, it catches up, and she just kind of became an entirely different person from what I knew her as. And it really, really got to me, because I knew her as the sweet, loving, family-oriented individual, and she just became this kind of mute, almost like zombie-like person. And I just couldn't look at her the same way. And at the time, I was also in college, trying to focus on my studies, so I didn't visit her as much as I wanted to. And I have guilt of that now, because I wish I was there for her way back when my mom needed me the most. And I feel like I let my grandmother down, because I didn't go as often as I needed to go visit her. But when I did visit her, she just didn't look the same to me. So I made the decision to stop going to see her. So when she actually did pass away from her Alzheimer's back in 2021, I was numb. I didn't know how to cope with it. It felt like the end for me. Like I didn't know like how to move on.
When you talk about her not looking the same, was it just looking, or was it acting different as well?
It was both. Like I said in the beginning, there were certain signs that she was experiencing, like the memory loss. She put this here. She would start vacuuming kind of the couch, which is not something people ordinary do with the hose and stuff like that. There's really not much there. We kind of let that stuff kind of slide in the beginning. But then it would come to a point where she would start taking out silverware and try to attack my grandfather with them, thinking that he was somebody else. So it became more extreme, which is why we had to make the difficult decision to put her, in a nursing home for the safety of herself and for our family members. So that was really hard for all of us. And then that just kind of progressed to when I mentioned that she was kind of a zombie, she did a lot of roaming around the hallways, whichever nursing home she was in. And, her face kind of shrunken in, and at the same, she wasn't eating as much because she couldn't get it down. Things like that I've noticed when I was visiting her. She was losing a ton of weight. Not that she was really heavy, but she was a very small statured woman. So it was just very easy to recognize that, wow, this is really progressing at a rate that I just wish would slow down.
Mm-hmm. Was she being medicated then for her kind of aggressive behaviors and for safety reasons at all, or?
To my knowledge, she was. It was just at the time that she was having these problems, it was more of like there wasn't a lot of medications that were helping with her at that were out and available at the time as much as there is now. I know, like there's several medications for dementia and Alzheimer's to kind of slow down the process, to slow down the symptoms and stuff, such. But at the time of her diagnosis, there wasn't such much on the market. So I believe, to my knowledge, she was on some, but I don't know how well it actually worked for her.
And I guess I would state there's medications out there. I don't know how well they really work
Exactly.
at slowing down the process. I mean, my mom was on Aricept years ago, and she died in 2014 and lived for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end, we asked the doctor, should she still be on this? And they said, well, we can take her off. But if it was helping, we're not going to know until we take her off.
Yeah.
And if we put her back on, she'll never come back to where she was. And so it's really hard for them to define, is this stuff working or not? I was wondering if they did anything behavioral wise for her aggression, because there's medications out there that can actually sometimes make it worse depending on what it is. Was she ever diagnosed? Was it like an autopsy done afterwards to see exactly what type of dementia she had, or?
Not to my knowledge. I know that they just categorized it as early onset Alzheimer's because she had the testing done one day when she went to the provider. Okay.
And the reason I ask that is sometimes it can be frontal temporal lobe, which affects personality. And so someone who's really sweet and kind, can all of a sudden get kind of mean and aggressive, or someone who's been mean and aggressive can become really sweet and kind.
Right.
Both ways. Or it could be somebody with Lewy body who's having hallucinations or delusions. And so they may have seen your grandpa as a true threat in their mind, or seen him as someone else. And sometimes they'll put him on medications that, actually increase that effect instead of helping, from what people living with the disease have told me. So thanks for sharing. That's, I think, really helpful for listeners to know kind of what you experienced.
It's a great question. I wish I had the answer for that. For all I know, it was just, she was on some medications, but like you said, you just don't know whether or not it was actually helping or hurting her because there's not enough research done on them.
So when did you first come to the idea that I'm going to write a book about this and what I went through?
Yeah. So in the process of her transitioning between the nursing homes, I kind of had this idea, actually my sister as well, that we wanted to start spreading awareness of what was going on with her and with others that were struggling, because as you know, dementia and Alzheimer's is way more common than people think. It might not hit you now, but at some point it's something that, once it hits hard. So we wanted to get the awareness out there, and we started with kind of like similar to an ice bucket challenge, kind of like an ALS. So we started Alzheimer's Angels, which was a Facebook group that we started. And instead of dumping ice water on us, we started having people nominate people to make snow angels in the snow. And then we were going to do go to the beach or find some sand and you can make sand angels. But that never really caught on as much as we would want it to. So after that, I realized that kind of got me what else can I do that could spread awareness that this is needed in the not only community but in the world. And it took me quite a lot of time before, not until after she passed away, and around the time actually that she passed away, my son was born. I took those two things together and realized Alzheimer's and dementia can be a hereditary thing. And I want my son to know that and be comfortable that someday, maybe not, but there's a possibility that this disease could end up reaching our family. So I want to be able to be the one to show him that, daddy might carry the gene. So if one day I might have it, I want him to be able to understand that even if I might act a certain way or I might not remember some things, I still love him. I'm still me. I might need to be cared for a certain way, but I want to be the one to provide that information to him. So that, and along with the passing of my grandmother, honoring her legacy, I wanted to be the one to spread that message, and that is exactly where my book came into play.
This Christmas, give more than just a gift. Give encouragement, inspiration, and joy. In the Crosswalk Holiday Gift Guide, you'll discover a curated collection of meaningful books and devotionals that celebrate faith, family, and the real reason for the season. This Christmas, we invite you to share comfort, quiet, or excitement with each person on your gift list. From beautifully illustrated Bibles and devotionals to novels and picture books, this guide holds the perfect book for every reader, including yourself. So stuff those stories into stockings, wrap collections with care, tuck a book or two into your own nightstand, and join us in celebrating the wonder of reading this Christmas. Explore the Crosswalk Holiday Gift Guide and find something special for everyone on your list. Visit crosswalk.com/gift guide today.
Okay, well, that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
That you were looking at that. I think kids are so powerful and they're so kind, and they don't look at aging and illness the way we do, as adults. They typically just see someone to play with,
Right.
And we kind of ingrain that in them to look at people different as they age.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you. Did writing the book make you feel closer to your grandmother at all?
It absolutely did. I think during that time where I was distancing myself from her because I felt like in my mind she was kind of already gone. When she actually passed away, I felt like she was right there with me, every word, writing the book. And that was something that I really treasured because I'm not someone who's a very spiritual individual, but I felt her presence with me because this is something that I was taking on, and I felt that we were doing it together.
Well, that's interesting. I felt that way with my own mom on this whole journey. People would say to me, "Oh, she can't be having, Alzheimer's disease for 30 years. That's impossible." But, I think she signed up and she stuck around to teach me things. And so even when I have a children's book called Betty the Bald Chicken, and that kind of came to me in a dream. It was really, channeled to me. And, but I didn't put it into book form for, over 10 years. And then putting it from, speaking it to then putting it in book form, I was amazed at what a difference it is. It's easy to tell the story, but to put it in book form is very, very different.
It's an entirely different aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was kind of an eye opener, for me. But even after my mom died, or actually I should say when my mom was dying, she had told me, she started communicating with me through dreams. And so she actually told me, you're not going to be here when I die. I need to know you're going to continue the work that we've put together. And I thought she was nuts, and I was really offended. And I said, but I'm always the one that helps people transition. And she said, no, the rest of them need to deal with death. And if you're here, you're just going to do everything, and they're not going to experience the journey. And my mom was, it really made a lot of sense, because my mom was always really big when we were little about having us both at births and at deaths. And she would get scolded by her friends because they're like, oh, they're too young and they shouldn't be here. And my mom's like, if they're old enough to be be at a birth and celebrate a birth, they're old enough to know that the journey ends and that there's
Of course.
celebration there too.
Mhm.
And,
And that's very powerful to realize.
yeah. Yeah. So, spiritually, I understand the connection that you're talking
Mhm.
about. And a lot of people, if they've never been through it, they don't understand it, and they don't even think it's possible. And they'll kind of look at you cross-eyed with some of them. And I said, well, that's okay. That's your opinion, but I know what I experienced, and just kind of move along. Because to me, that gave me so much comfort in the journey and made me realize that what I experienced, even if it was difficult, it was a great learning lesson and a life lesson to share with others, which it seems like that's what you're doing too, is you're sharing what you learned during a really difficult time
Yeah.
in life with others, to kind of ease that process and give a new understanding or insights to it. Now, for those of you that are just hitting us midway through here, we are talking with RJ, who recently published his first children's book, and it's all about the effects of Alzheimer's and dementia and the impact that it has on children. And it's called For Those I Knew and Loved Before. And it's a simple book, but again, a powerful one, with a range of emotions. And so, you can go to his Instagram or his TikTok, or find him on Amazon to purchase the book. Now, I know you had mentioned you had a website coming too. I don't know where you're at the process with that for an author website. Is that
Hmm.
still in the works, or?
Yeah, it's still in the process.
Okay, it always takes longer than you think.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
but I
There's a
will
lot.
be
There's a lot to do on it that I'm just trying to get it ready for. So when it's ready, it's just done.
okay. Well, that's good. And people can always go ahead and reach you by email, which is RJ, and then his last name is SCARELLI@gmail.com. Now, I'm going to also just talk about Q for Good really quick. They happen to be a webmaster. So if you haven't picked one out yet, RJ, you might want to check them out. They're reasonable price. They are wonderful to work with. I have gone through many webmasters in my 66 years, and I just adore these guys. And so if you're looking for someone who actually listens, speaks normal language, and not this big, deep blue hole things that makes me really nervous, reach out to Q for Good. Now, I want to get back to you, RJ, because I want to ask you about when you decided to write the book. What was your ultimate goal in doing that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my ultimate goal with writing this book is not only to spread the awareness of the diseases of Alzheimer's and dementia, but I mean, it is a big part, but I wanted to, in the generations that are coming up, I want, the children, they have a big voice in our futures. And I feel like I want to bring them into the conversation. So, I feel like a lot of the times we take the difficult conversations on and we kind of leave them out of them. So my goal with this book was to have the kids be able to sit down with their families or their guardians or whoever, kind of go through the book as an emotional coping mechanism, and kind of dissect it as they may, and be able to talk about it with their families or whoever they're with, and ask questions, open-ended questions, ask anything they want, and be kind of those voices that are oftentimes I feel like are kind of shut down because it is such a heavy, difficult topic, and be more advocates for loved ones that do have Alzheimer's and dementia diagnoses, and because they, like I said, the children, they do have voices. They might not be as loud right now, but one day, those generations that are younger will grow, and they could be the ones that change the future between what could happen now and then, between the fight for Alzheimer's and dementia. So I thought that was my message.
Yeah, they are going to be our future warriors, in terms of caring and also fighting for a cure and things, which is a nice way to look at it. And I agree with you. I think we do shut kids off. I think parents go, well, you don't need to carry that burden. This is an adult thing. And yet kids can tell, when the family structure changes, when the priorities
Absolutely.
change, and they're feeling a little lost and left out, but no one's telling them why, and no one's offering them to be part of that comfort and care. And I can say, and this is just, I'll use an example recently, and this wasn't even somebody with dementia, but this was my grandchild. I've got 3, 14, 10, and 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And my ex-husband passed away, who is their grandpa. And they all were at such a loss, but they were all really involved. They wanted to be at the hospital every single day, versus parents just protecting them. The little one in particular is still so connected with him. She plays hide and seek with him, and she'll be hiding behind the curtains and going, shh, mom, shh. And she'll say, what? And she's like, Papa, Papa, hide and seek. And so she's very connected. She gets melancholy sometimes, and she will want his prayer shawl to lay down with his prayer shawl and his picture next to her. She is putting out, she'll have like a snack or maybe not finish her meal, and she has a picture on the fireplace hearth, and she'll put the rest of her food out there for Papa, and then she'll take it away. But she is so connected, and some people might think that that's not healthy. Our family thinks it's
beautiful,
very healthy.
That's
and
beautiful.
Very beautiful. And you can tell she's connected because her eyes just light up. I mean, they literally just beam, and her whole, she sees them. She's connected. And I know even with my daughter, when she was younger, she was connected to my husband's parents, who she never met, never ever met. And so these connections and these feelings are there. And, you can sit there and drive yourself nuts in terms of how or why, but to the child, they're real. As an adult, you can believe in it or not. I don't care. But again, it's about making sure your child is comfortable with their feelings of love and loss, and how they cope during those situations. To me, I think that's a critical point. And I think it's burdening a child, because they know stuff's going on. They're reading everybody's body language. They hear conversations, but they might not have the ability to process it all.
Caring for someone with dementia is one of the toughest journeys, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm Allison Schreier, and my experience caring for my husband inspired me to create Zinnia, a therapeutic streaming service designed to support people living with dementia and reduce caregiver stress. Zinnia offers research-backed videos intentionally created for people with dementia, engaging, calming, and easy to follow. Whether you need to ease agitation, create moments of joy, or make daily routines smoother, Zinnia is here to help. Family and professional caregivers use our content to turn challenges into opportunities for connection. Accessible by subscription on mobile devices and connected TVs, Zinnia is simple to use whenever you need it. Because when caregiving feels easier, life feels better. Go to zinniatv.com and sign up for a free trial today. Use the code RESOURCE for 15% off an annual Zinnia subscription.
So my belief is pull them in, explain it the best you can, and support them and encourage them to ask questions so that they can understand to the depth of their ability. And again, I know not all of our listeners will probably agree with that. My guess is you agree with that and kind of have the same philosophy.
Mhm.
Now, one of the things that you had mentioned to me was, you were excited about being on Alzheimer's Speaks on our podcast. How do you hope that that will help you achieve, your goal with the book?
A great question. So my goal, like I said, is my main goal is to spread awareness of this horrible disease as much as I possibly can. And I feel like this is the opportunity to really do it. I've kind of been on the radio before. I've been on a local Mix 104.1 before talking about my book. But that was just to a general audience. Like, this is specifically for, people who have been touched by a loved one that has passed or is currently battling, or maybe just is interested in this topic of Alzheimer's and dementia, or maybe is an advocate. So like, that is my targeted audience in a sense, because that is who I want to reach out to. That is like my main, that's basically it. That's like my main audience. That's like my main subject. I feel like these are the people that need to hear it the most, because these are the ones that are going to understand where I'm coming from, like understand my background, understand my story. Whereas people outside of this conversation will understand, might be a little sympathetic, but not entirely get what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I totally get that. And I think it's important for all of us in the industry to connect and respect what other people are doing and their approaches to improving care and, how we look at dementia. So that's one of the things I personally like about my job with Alzheimer's Speaks, is talking with, a variety of people, not just big organizations and researchers, but people who have actually lived the disease. If it's them being diagnosed or caring for a loved one, plus all the variety of businesses that are out there that are trying to support people in different fashions. What's been your response since you've self-published your book?
The response has been pretty positive, especially in the community that I'm in. I've had, obviously I've had family that has been very supportive. I've had friends that come up to me. I've had people reach out to me from schools. I've been in the paper where I am, and I've had someone reach out to me that was out of the blue, was like very taken back by my story personally. On social media, I've had a couple people that came up to me with their story and telling me that they've had a family member that passed, or they're currently taking care of a member who has dementia or Alzheimer's. So those ones hit me personally, because I felt like I could be there for them in that sense. So it's really been overall pretty positive and a great ride. I hope to continue doing what I'm doing. I know, like, going off of the other question, like, yes, I'm an author, I'm a published author, but my goal isn't to just be an author. My goal is really to just kind of change the narrative. I want to, be more of an advocate for this disease. Like, my grandmother did not deserve to go through what she did. She was a very adventurous woman, very outgoing, very athletic. She traveled the world with my grandfather, and to see her go from that to what she was going through is just absolutely devastating to myself and my family. And that just kind of propelled me to write my book and to keep going with the advocacy. So, like, yes, I'm an author. Yes, there is money there and whatever, but like, it's not about the money. It is about the advocacy. It is about the getting spreading the awareness. It is about reaching as many people as I possibly can.
Fantastic. I'm sure your grandma's very proud of what you are doing and how you're approaching all of this. Do you have any future projects, in your mind that you want to write some more, or projects that you're working on?
Sure. So I have a couple in mind. Both are also advocacies. I actually have one that I can share that someone reached out to me because, like I said, I was in the paper recently, my local newspaper, and they reached out to me via email, and they wanted to collaborate with me on a book, and it's about ALS. So that one's very interesting to me. It's two women, and they have husbands who have ALS, so it's very impersonal to them. And then I have another children's book that I'm working on developing. It's already written. I'm just trying to work on illustrations and stuff. And that one is about the awareness of epilepsy, because my wife has epilepsy. So I'm trying to spread awareness on that.
That's wonderful. And I think, there's so much overlap in terms of how we care from one disease to the next.
Mm-hmm.
It's about respecting the person who's in front of you and realizing that their personhood is not lost. It's still there, even if their words or their physical abilities change. They're still understanding our communications. They might not be able to spit back to us in the fashion that they used to communicate.
Right.
And we have to learn to do a better job at reading what it is they're telling us, what they're comfortable or not comfortable with, and moving forward in that way. So thank you so much for being with us. Anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I would just like to thank you for having me today. It has been an amazing opportunity to speak with you. This has been amazing. I can't thank you enough. I'm lost for words. This is awesome. I just really hope that, my message really has spoken to, whoever is listening out there. And if you have any questions or, you want to talk to me more, Lori told you my email, but I'll say it again. It's RJ, last name, Scarelli, SCARELLI @gmail.com.
Thank you. And again, his book is called For Those I Knew and Loved Before. So I encourage our audience, as always, to be a giver of hope. Like, click, and share, not because we are tracking the numbers, but we know there are people in your sphere of influence. I don't care if it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, there's people out there that need this information, but they don't know where to find it, or they're scared to Google it because they don't want to get scammed. So join us and be a giver of hope. And it doesn't take much time, doesn't cost you a nickel, but it can make a really big impact in someone's life. Again, you can find him on Instagram, TikTok. His email address is RJ Scarelli, and that's RJ SCARELLI @gmail.com. You can also find his book on Amazon, and his website will be coming soon. Do you know what your .com is going to be once it goes live, RJ?
So the name of the website is called rjsrealityofwriting.com.
So again, RJ, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate your efforts and sharing your work to shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort. So that was a fun conversation with RJ. Please feel free, again, to check out alzheimerspeaks.com for all of our free educational resources, including my book, Betty the Bald Chicken, Lessons in How to Care, and our sister company, which is dementiamap.com, where you can find various resources around the world there, which is all free. So again, everyone, have a wonderful, amazing week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
This Christmas, give more than just a gift. Give encouragement, inspiration, and joy. In the Crosswalk Holiday Gift Guide, you'll discover a curated collection of meaningful books and devotionals that celebrate faith, family, and the real reason for the season. This Christmas, we invite you to share comfort, quiet, or excitement with each person on your gift list. From beautifully illustrated Bibles and devotionals to novels and picture books, this guide holds the perfect book for every reader, including yourself. So stuff those stories into stockings, wrap collections with care, tuck a book or two into your own nightstand, and join us in celebrating the wonder of reading this Christmas. Explore the Crosswalk Holiday Gift Guide and find something special for everyone on your list. Visit crosswalk.com/gift guide today.